Did you ever think that the greatest shield of spiritual protection could be right in your kitchen? Yes, something as simple as salt holds ancient secrets that can purify environments, ward off negative energies, and even break curses passed down for generations. From ancient civilizations to sacred texts, salt has always been a powerful tool for defense and transformation. But this knowledge has been lost and undervalued for centuries. Let's get started. The greatest resource for spiritual defense is in your kitchen. When we think of resources for spiritual defense and transformation, we often look to faraway places, ancient wisdom, or esoteric practices. However, what you might not know is that one of the greatest allies on this journey could be right in your kitchen: salt. This mineral, so common and accessible, carries a depth that transcends everyday life. It is a constant presence in our lives, but few stop to reflect on its true potential. Imagine, something as simple as salt can be the key to unlocking spiritual defenses and promoting a profound inner metamorphosis. In many traditions, salt is seen as a powerful protector. It acts as a shield against negative energies and unwanted influences, serving as a filter that separates what is beneficial from what can harm us. By using it consciously, we can create a safe space, a true refuge in the midst of chaos. The act of salting an environment is not just a matter of seasoning food. It is a practice that can bring a new perspective on how we relate to the space around us. Salt's connection to spirituality is deep and rich. It is a purifying agent capable of cleansing not only environments but also our own energies. By incorporating salt into rituals or daily practices, we are actually invoking its ancestral powers and allowing it to work on our behalf. In each grain, there is a story, a tradition that goes back to civilizations that understood its value and used it to protect and transform themselves. In addition, salt has the power to reverse ancestral curses, a legacy that can accompany us without us realizing it. By becoming aware of this, we have the opportunity to break negative cycles that are perpetuated in our lives and in the lives of our ancestors. The simple act of salting a space or using salt in rituals can be a significant step towards liberation and healing, both personal and collective. Finally, the presence of salt in our lives is an invitation to reflect on our own essence. It reminds us that, just as it is a powerful resource, each of us also has an inner strength capable of protecting and transforming us. We just need to be willing to explore and learn how to use this power, which is often at our disposal without us even realizing it. The ancestral secrets of salt, civilization's forgotten powers. Salt, in its simplicity, is a guardian of secrets that span generations. Ancient civilizations, such as the Egyptians, Romans, and Chinese, not only used salt as an indispensable food preservative, but also revered it as a sacred element. It was seen as a channel for connecting with the divine, used in rituals and ceremonies that sought protection and blessings. So when we look at salt, we are also accessing a spiritual legacy that endures through time. These ancestral secrets are intertwined with the very nature of salt. It is a mineral that represents purity and preservation, symbolizing the eternal struggle between life and death. Throughout history, cultures from different parts of the world have realized that salt not only preserves food, but also the memories and practices that shape a people's identity. The ritual use of salt extends from offerings on altars to the protection of homes and families, showing that it is much more than just a seasoning. In addition, many rites of passage, such as weddings and funerals, incorporate salt to symbolize the continuity of life and the protection of souls. Salting a new home, for example, was believed to create a safe space, free from negative energies. This simple practice carries with it a profound meaning, the intention to protect and honor those who came before us, and to ensure that their stories and legacies live on in us. Salt has also been present in healing practices, where it was used as an element of purification. Many traditions believe that it can absorb negative energies and promote a state of balance. Salt thus becomes a true ally in the search for health and harmony, showing that these ancestral practices are still relevant in our modern daily lives. By recovering these teachings, we can find ways to apply this knowledge to our lives, So every time we use salt, we are not only seasoning our food, but also paying homage to the civilizations that valued it. It's a reminder that we are part of something bigger, and that through small actions, we can honor and perpetuate these ancestral secrets that still resonate in our being. Protect your essence and break curses with the power of salt. Salt has a reputation that goes beyond its culinary function. It is considered a powerful protective agent, capable of acting on deep spiritual levels. By using it consciously, we can create barriers that separate us from negative influences, allowing our essence to remain intact. This protection is not only physical, but also spiritual, serving as a shield that protects our vital energy from interactions that can wear us down. Purification is another fundamental aspect associated with salt. In many rituals, it is used as a means of cleansing not only the physical space, but also the energies that inhabit it. When sprinkled in environments, salt absorbs heavy vibrations and releases a lighter, more harmonious energy field. In this way, we can transform a charged space into a place of peace and serenity, providing an environment conducive to spiritual and emotional growth. As well as protecting and purifying, salt is also known for its potential to reverse ancestral curses. Often traumas and negative energies are passed down from generation to generation, creating a cycle that can be difficult to break. Using salt in liberation rituals can be a powerful first step in untying these karmic knots. It acts as a cleansing agent, allowing these influences to dissipate and for us to live more fully and freely. In many cultures, salt is used in purification baths and protection rituals, where it is believed that it can absorb and neutralize unwanted energies. This simple but powerful practice can transform our relationship with the space around us and with ourselves. By taking the time to incorporate salt into our routines, we are offering ourselves a gift of protection and renewal. Finally, the ancestral wisdom surrounding the use of salt invites us to reflect on the importance of taking care of our essence. It is a reminder that by protecting and purifying ourselves, we are also honoring our journey and that of those who came before us. Salt, therefore, is a powerful ally in this quest for balance and harmony, capable of guiding us in times of need and transformation. Do you know when and how to use salt to protect yourself? Imagine for a moment that you have a powerful tool in your hands, one that can help protect you from negative influences. That tool is salt, and knowing how and when to use it can make all the difference in your life. In a world full of different energies, knowing how to use salt as a shield can be transformative. You would feel safer, more protected, and above all, more in control of your own energy. The first step to using salt effectively is to understand its properties and the right time to use it. There are specific occasions when the energy around us can become heavier or more negative, such as after arguments, in tumultuous environments, or even after interacting with people who drain our vitality. At such times, using salt can be a way of rebalancing energies and restoring harmony. By recognizing these signs, you become more aware and able to act assertively. Knowing how to use salt also involves ritualizing its application. This can include creating a sacred space where you can pour a handful of salt into a container of water and let it absorb the bad energies. This simple practice can be an act of spiritual self-care, which helps to bring inner balance and a sense of peace. The intention behind the use of salt is just as important as its physical application. It is in this intention that its true power lies. In addition, salt can be incorporated into daily practices such as bathing or cleaning the house. By adding salt to your bath water, you not only purify your body, but also cleanse your aura, creating a barrier against unwanted energies. Similarly, by cleaning your home with salt water, you create a lighter, more harmonious environment where negative influences have difficulty entering. These habits can be integrated into your routine, providing a feeling of continuous protection and strengthening your energy field. Finally, learning to use salt consciously is more than an esoteric ritual. It's an inner strengthening practice. Each time you use salt with intention and purpose, you are reaffirming your personal power and cultivating a deeper connection with yourself. In the process, You stop being just a passive receiver of the energies around you and become an active agent of your own protection. In the end, true strength lies in awareness. By knowing when and how to act, you are always ahead, creating a space of light and security amidst the uncertainties of the outside world. Salt in Scripture, a forgotten spiritual treasure. Salt is not just a common seasoning. It carries deep symbolism in biblical scriptures. Since ancient times, this mineral has been mentioned in contexts that go far beyond its taste. The references to salt in the scriptures reveal a spiritual and cultural connection that endures to this day. Throughout the pages of the Bible, we find mentions that make us reflect on the importance of salt as a sacred element that transcends everyday use. A clear example of this is the Salt Covenant established in Numbers 18:19, where God promises a special relationship with the children of Israel. This covenant symbolizes not only faithfulness but also the divine protection that surrounds the chosen people. The presence of salt in this context underscores the idea that what is sacred is also preserved and maintained by a greater power. Salt thus becomes an emblem of commitment and spiritual security. Furthermore, in 2 Kings 2:19-22, we see the prophet Elisha using salt to purify contaminated water. Here, salt is presented as an agent of healing and renewal. Elisha's action shows that with faith and the correct use of salt, it is possible to transform what is impure into something pure again. This narrative teaches us that salt is not only a physical resource, but also a spiritual tool that can bring cleansing and restoration. The use of salt in sacred offerings, as mentioned in Leviticus 2:13, is another aspect that emphasizes its importance in religious practices. Salt marks these offerings with the eternal covenant between man and God, reinforcing the idea that everything that is offered must be done so with purity and respect. Salt, therefore, becomes a symbol of continuous commitment, a mark of devotion that unites the human with the divine. Finally, the transformation of Lot's wife into a pillar of salt, according to Genesis 19:26, serves as a warning about the consequences of disobedience. This story shows how salt can also symbolize judgment and the fragility of human choices. The story is a reminder that salt, which can represent preservation, can also be a testimony to the consequences of wrong actions, reflecting the duality of its symbolism. The Salt Covenant, divine protection hidden in the Bible. The Salt Covenant mentioned in Numbers 18:19 is one of the most fascinating biblical references to the use of salt. This covenant is not just an agreement but a pact of protection and fidelity. Salt in this context becomes a symbol of something that is lasting and sacred. The idea that salt can represent divine protection invites us to think about how simple elements of nature can carry profound meanings. The divine protection associated with salt suggests that there is a greater force watching over us and that, through faith, we can access this protection. Salt, then, is not just a mineral, but a channel for the manifestation of divine grace. When we think of the covenant, we are reminded that God's faithfulness is constant, just like the preserving character of salt. This connection encourages us to seek this protection in our daily lives. Furthermore, when we reflect on the Salt Covenant, we can't help but notice its relevance in religious rituals and practices. The presence of salt in sacred offerings symbolizes the seriousness with which we should approach our devotion. This ring reminds us that every act of worship should be treated with reverence, as we are establishing a bond with the divine that is eternal and meaningful. Another interesting aspect of the Salt Covenant is its relationship to community. When salt is used as a symbol of unity, it reminds us that divine protection is not only individual, but also collective. This suggests that when we unite in faith and purpose, we are strengthening this alliance and, consequently, increasing the protection we receive. The union between the members of the community, symbolized by the salt, reinforces the importance of solidarity in the search for good. Finally, the idea that salt can be a symbol of divine protection invites us to reflect on what it means to be in covenant with God. This relationship is not passive. It requires effort and commitment. So, by taking care of our relationship with the divine, we are also preserving the essence of our being, In fact, the Salt Covenant teaches us the importance of cultivating a bond that is both sacred and full of responsibility. The purifying power of salt, spiritual cleanliness in every grain. The use of salt as a purifying element in the Scriptures is a practice that teaches us about transformation and renewal. When the prophet Elisha purifies the contaminated waters in 2 Kings 2:19-22, he shows us that by invoking faith, salt becomes a vehicle for healing. This narrative makes us realize that salt is not just a physical element, but has a spiritual symbolism that can bring restoration to situations that are out of balance. Salt's ability to purify is a powerful metaphor for our own lives. Just as Elisha used salt to cleanse the waters, we can apply this idea to our daily lives. Salt reminds us that we always have the possibility of purifying our thoughts, emotions, and surroundings. This practice of renewal is essential, especially in a world full of negative influences. Salt thus becomes a symbol of hope and new beginnings. In addition, the union of salt with faith highlights the idea that true purification goes beyond the physical. It is a call to seek a deeper understanding of our experiences and challenges. Salt, in this sense, invites us to reflect on our intentions and purposes. When we use salt in our spiritual practices, we are invoking the power of transformation that resides within us. In the biblical tradition, salt also represents a commitment to truth and authenticity. When we purify something with salt, we are declaring that we desire clarity and purity in our lives. This search for authenticity is an essential aspect of spirituality, as it leads us to face our fears and insecurities. Salt, therefore, is not only a purifying agent, but also a symbol of courage and integrity. Finally, the practice of purification with salt teaches us that renewal is an ongoing process. It's not something that happens just once, but rather a cycle of transformation that we must embrace. Each day we have the opportunity to salt our experiences, bringing light and clarity into our lives. Salt thus becomes a metaphor for the spiritual journey we are all on, full of opportunities for growth and evolution. Salt in the sacred offerings, a link between the human and the divine. The use of salt in sacred offerings, as mentioned in Leviticus 2:13, is a fascinating aspect of the relationship between man and God. The presence of salt in these offerings is not merely ritualistic, it symbolizes the importance of purity and consecration. Salt, in this context, represents a deep commitment to divinity, indicating that what is offered should be treated with reverence and respect. This aspect of salt as part of sacred offerings teaches us about the importance of intention in our actions. When we dedicate ourselves to something, whether in prayer, ritual, or an act of generosity, we should do so with the same purity that salt represents. Salt then becomes a symbol of authenticity and devotion, reminding us that our offerings should be made with an open and sincere heart. In addition, salt symbolizes the eternal covenant between man and God. This covenant is a reminder that we are always connected to something greater. Salt, in this sense, is a link that connects us to the divine, reinforcing the idea that our actions have a direct impact on our spiritual relationship. Offering salt, therefore, is an act that goes beyond the physical. It is a demonstration of commitment to faith. Another interesting perspective on the use of salt in sacred offerings is that it also represents preservation. Just as salt has the ability to preserve food, it symbolizes the preservation of spirituality and connection with the divine. This leads us to reflect on how we can salt our lives, keeping the flame of spirituality and gratitude alive in our hearts. Finally, the salt in sacred offerings invites us to consider what we are willing to offer in our lives. This symbolism leads us to question our priorities and intentions. In doing so, we can connect more deeply with our faith and with the essence of what it means to be part of a covenant with God. Salt, in this context, becomes a constant reminder that our lives are a continuous offering and that each act of devotion has a special meaning. The consequences of disobedience, the symbolism of the pillar of salt, the narrative in Genesis 19:26, where Lot's wife turns into a pillar of salt, brings to light one of the most profound aspects of the biblical symbolism of salt. This transformation is not merely an arbitrary punishment, but a powerful warning about the consequences of disobedience and resistance to change. By looking back against God's command, Lot's wife symbolizes our tendency to cling to the past, even when salvation demands that we move forward. Salt in this context represents not only judgment, but also the fragility of human choices in the face of divine guidance. Just as salt is durable, its transformation into a solid column suggests that certain decisions leave permanent marks and that the consequences of wrong choices can remain crystallized forever. This image invites us to reflect on how being stuck in the past can prevent us from evolving and embracing new opportunities. Furthermore, salt here is not only a symbol of judgment, but also of preservation. The transformation of Lot's wife into salt can be read as a metaphor for how certain mistakes and attachments are fossilized in spiritual memory, perpetual reminders of what has trapped us and kept us from the right path. The episode reminds us of the need to accept change and trust in divine guidance to move forward without hesitation. In the end, the story of Lot's wife is an invitation to introspection. Are we paralyzed, stuck in what has gone before, unable to move towards the new? Salt, with its duality of preservation and judgment, warns us of the danger of not trusting the process of life and teaches us the importance of leaving the past behind in search of a journey of renewal and spiritual growth. In occult traditions, salt is much more than seasoning food. In occult traditions, salt is much more than an ordinary seasoning. It is revered for its mystical and spiritual properties. Those who explore the mysteries of esotericism often consider salt to be a powerful vehicle for transmuting energies. It is seen as an element capable of absorbing the vibrations around it, whether of love and light or fear and darkness. For this reason, it is often used in rituals to harmonize and balance the energies of an environment, promoting an atmosphere of peace and protection. In addition, salt is interpreted as a crystal that not only absorbs, but also amplifies the energies present. This amplification capacity is particularly valued in magic and meditation practices. When used in a sacred space, it enhances the intention of practitioners, making their prayers and wishes more vibrant and impactful. This connection with its crystalline vibration is one of the reasons why it is so widely used in rituals and ceremonies. Another fascinating application of salt in occult traditions is its use in circles of protection. Many ceremonial magical practices involve the creation of circles made with salt, which act as barriers against negative influences and unwanted energies. These circles are considered sacred spaces where practitioners can connect with the divine and realize their intentions without the interference of external forces. This protection is vital for those seeking to deepen their spiritual practice in a safe way. However, the nature of salt is also ambivalent. Although it is widely used for good, it can also be employed in dark rituals. In some traditions, salt is used to strengthen negative intentions, increasing the power of spells aimed at causing harm or disruption. This duality makes salt both a fascinating and dangerous element, requiring a thorough understanding of its properties before using it in any practice. Finally, it is important to note that the misuse of salt can backfire on those who handle it inappropriately. The belief that what you put out into the universe comes back in some way is common in occult traditions, and this is no different with salt. Those who try to use its mystical properties for selfish or malicious purposes can end up suffering the consequences. Thus, salt becomes not only a symbol of power, but also a reminder of the responsibility that comes with that power. Salt as a symbol of resilience and immortality. Salt is seen as a symbol of resilience and immortality in various cultures and healing rituals. Its ability to preserve food and, by extension, life, makes it an essential element in many contexts. In healing practices, salt is used to create solutions that not only treat the body, but also uplift the spirit, bringing a sense of renewal and strength. It is believed that by incorporating salt into healing rituals, practitioners can invoke the resilience of the forces of nature, which always restore and regenerate. Furthermore, in many pagan and shamanic cultures, Salt was offered to the gods as a request for blessings and protection. These offerings symbolize not only gratitude, but also the search for a deeper connection with the divine. Salt, when placed on altars or in sacred circles, represents not only a material offering, but also a spiritual link between the human world and the divine. This ritual of offering salt is a way of recognizing the immortality of the forces that exist beyond the physical. The use of salt in healing rituals is also associated with processes of transformation and purification. In many traditions, salt is incorporated into spiritual baths, where its purifying properties are believed to help release negative energies and promote physical and emotional healing. This practice is particularly valued at times of great stress or spiritual crisis, where the presence of salt serves as a reminder that healing is not only possible, but a natural part of life. Additionally, salt is seen as a component that activates the life force present in every being. In healing rituals, it is often combined with herbs and essential oils, creating a synergy that enhances the properties of each element. This combination is considered powerful, allowing the healing energies to flow more effectively. Salt thus becomes a catalyst that not only preserves, but also revitalizes. Finally, this symbolization of salt as resilience and immortality is a constant reminder of the strength that exists in each of us. When we use salt in our spiritual practices, we are also connecting to an ancient tradition of recognizing the strength of life and the ability to overcome. This inspires us to seek renewal, not only in times of difficulty, but as an ongoing practice in our spiritual journey. Now that you've discovered the ancient secrets of salt, how can you apply them to transform your life? Imagine your home as a true sanctuary of peace and protection, using the power of this mineral that carries centuries of spiritual tradition. Each grain of salt is a reminder of the inner strength you can awaken. What practices do you already know that involve the use of salt? Leave a comment and share your experiences with our community. And if you want to continue this spiritual journey, don't miss the video that appears on the screen now. It brings new insights that could be the key to your next transformation. See you in our next video.